Most homeowners make the same mistake every spring. They buy beautiful flowers, plant them, enjoy them for a few weeks, and then watch them disappear. The blooms fade, the fragrance vanishes, and by the end of the season, they're back at the garden center spending money all over again. And honestly, that cycle becomes exhausting. That matters more than people realize, because many gardeners aren't looking for more work anymore. They're looking for lasting beauty. Flowers that return year after year. Flowers that fill the air with fragrance. Flowers that become more beautiful over time instead of disappearing after a single season. And here's the hidden truth. Some of the most fragrant flowers in the world are actually perennials. Plant them once, give them a good start, and they can reward you with incredible fragrance for years. That changes everything, especially for homeowners who want a beautiful garden without constantly replacing plants. Now here's where things get interesting. One flower on today's list smells so sweet it can perfume an entire patio. Another has been treasured in gardens for centuries because of its unforgettable fragrance. And one flower near the end produces a scent so powerful that many gardeners consider it one of the greatest fragrances in the plant world. But here's the problem. Most people choose flowers based only on appearance. Bright colors, large blooms, eye-catching displays. Experienced gardeners understand something different. The most memorable gardens don't just look beautiful. They smell beautiful. The fragrance drifting through warm evening air. The scent greeting you as you walk through the garden. The feeling of stepping outside and instantly knowing flowers are blooming nearby. That emotional experience changes everything. Now imagine this. A warm summer evening. Golden sunlight slowly fading. A gentle breeze moving through the garden. And incredible fragrance drifting softly through the air while butterflies move lazily among the flowers. That isn't something you experience for one season. It's something you enjoy year after year. And the flowers on today's list can help create exactly that. So let's begin with one of the most famous fragrant perennials ever grown. Number 8. Peony. Peonies may be one of the most beloved fragrant flowers ever planted in a garden. And honestly, the first time you see a mature peony in full bloom, it's easy to understand why. Massive layers of silky petals unfolding beneath spring sunshine. Soft shades of pink, white coral, and deep crimson glowing in the garden. Large flowers bending gently in the breeze, while sweet fragrance drifts through the air. And somehow, everything feels more elegant. That matters more than people realize, because peonies create a type of beauty that feels timeless. The kind of flower people remember. The kind of flower passed down through generations. The kind of flower that often remains in gardens long after homeowners themselves have moved on. Now here's the hidden truth. Many peony plants can live for decades. Decades. That changes everything, especially for homeowners tired of planting flowers over and over again. Experienced gardeners understand something important. A mature peony isn't just a flower. It's an investment. Because every year the plant often becomes larger, stronger, more beautiful, and more productive. Now here's where things get interesting. Many gardeners become frustrated because young peonies sometimes take a little time to establish. The first few years can feel slow, but experienced gardeners understand. Patience changes everything, because once peonies settle into their location, the transformation becomes extraordinary. Year after year, more stems, more blooms, more fragrance, until eventually the plant becomes one of the highlights of the entire garden. And honestly, that's exactly why gardeners become so attached to them. Now here's another reason peonies are special. The fragrance itself varies depending on the variety. Some smell sweet and rosy. Others smell citrus-like. Some even carry subtle spicy notes, which means discovering your favorite peony fragrance becomes part of the experience. That emotional connection matters enormously, because gardens are not only visual spaces, they're sensory spaces, and peonies engage both beautifully. Now here's something many beginners learn too late. Peonies dislike being moved. Experienced gardeners understand this. Choose a planting location carefully, because once established peonies prefer staying exactly where they are. And honestly, that's part of what makes them so valuable. Plant them once. Enjoy them for years, sometimes even generations. Now imagine this: a warm spring morning, massive pink blooms opening beneath golden sunlight, sweet fragrance drifting gently through the garden, butterflies visiting the flowers while birds sing softly in the background. And suddenly, the entire garden feels richer, more elegant, almost luxurious. That's the power of peonies. Expert tip: plant peonies where they receive plenty of sunlight and avoid planting them too deeply. That simple mistake prevents countless gardeners from getting the blooms they expect. And honestly, very few flowers reward patience more beautifully than peonies. But the next flower on this list has a fragrance so powerful that people often smell it before they even see the blooms. Number 7. Lily of the Valley. If fragrance alone determined popularity, Lily of the Valley would rank near the very top. And honestly, the first time most people smell these tiny flowers, they never forget it. Small, bell-shaped white blooms hanging delicately beneath rich green foliage. A sweet perfume floating effortlessly through the air. Soft flowers glowing beneath cool morning sunlight, while dew sparkles across the leaves. And somehow, such a small flower creates such a powerful emotional impact. That matters more than people realize, because many gardeners assume large flowers produce the strongest fragrance. But Lily of the Valley proves exactly the opposite. Tiny blooms, extraordinary scent. That changes everything, especially for homeowners looking to maximize fragrance without needing massive flower displays. Now, here's the hidden truth. This plant has been treasured in gardens for centuries. Not because it's flashy, not because it's dramatic, but because the fragrance feels timeless, elegant, refined, almost luxurious. Experienced gardeners understand something important. Some flowers impress visually, others create memories. Lily of the Valley often does both. Now here's where things get interesting. The fragrance carries surprisingly far, especially during cool spring mornings. A relatively small patch of flowers can perfume an entire section of the garden. And honestly, that kind of performance is rare, very rare, especially from such delicate-looking blooms. Now here's another reason gardeners love this plant. It thrives beautifully in partial shade. That changes everything, because many homeowners struggle with darker garden spaces, areas beneath trees, shady corners near patios, locations where sun-loving flowers consistently fail. But Lily of the Valley often flourishes in those conditions, which means difficult areas suddenly become some of the most fragrant parts of the garden. That emotional payoff becomes enormous, because frustrating garden spaces become beautiful garden spaces. Now here's something many beginners learn too late. Lily of the Valley spreads gradually over time. Experienced gardeners understand this can be both a benefit and something to monitor. But once established, the plant often becomes fuller and more impressive every year. More foliage, more blooms, more fragrance. That changes everything, especially for gardeners wanting a long-term investment plant. Now imagine this: a cool spring morning, tiny white bells hanging beneath lush green leaves, sweet fragrance drifting slowly through the air, birds singing softly nearby while sunlight filters through tree branches overhead. And suddenly, the garden feels peaceful, elegant, almost storybook-like. That atmosphere is exactly why gardeners have treasured this flower for generations. Expert tip: plant Lily of the Valley in rich moisture-retentive soil and avoid locations with intense afternoon heat. Consistent moisture helps create healthier foliage and stronger flowering. And honestly, the reward is extraordinary, because few fragrances in gardening are as unforgettable as Lily of the Valley. But the next flower on this list produces fragrance so rich and sweet that many gardeners compare it to perfume. Number 6. Gardenia. Few flowers in the world have a reputation quite like Gardenia. And honestly, the moment a gardenia begins blooming, it's easy to understand why. Pure white flowers unfolding against glossy dark green foliage, elegant petals glowing softly beneath warm sunlight, an unforgettable fragrance drifting through the air long before you even reach the plant. And somehow, everything feels more refined, more luxurious. more peaceful. That matters more than people realize. Because gardenia isn't simply a flower, it's an experience. Experienced gardeners understand this. Some plants create beauty. Gardenia creates atmosphere. Now here's the hidden truth. Many homeowners assume gardenias are difficult. And honestly, they can be a little particular. But once their needs are understood, the reward becomes extraordinary. That changes everything, especially for gardeners searching for fragrance that truly stands out. Now here's where things get interesting. The fragrance of gardenia is often considered one of the finest floral scents in the world. Rich, sweet, elegant, almost perfume-like. And unlike many flowers that require dozens of blooms to create noticeable fragrance, just a handful of gardenia flowers can perfume an entire garden space. That emotional payoff becomes enormous, because every evening outdoors feels more relaxing, more inviting, more memorable. Now, here's another reason gardenias remain beloved. The contrast between the bright white blooms and deep green foliage creates incredible visual elegance. Even before flowering begins, the shrub looks refined, professional, expensive. And honestly, that's exactly why landscape designers continue using gardenias in luxury gardens, because they create beauty even when they're not blooming. Now here's something many beginners learn. Too late. Gardenias appreciate consistency, consistent moisture, consistente, consistent growing conditions. Experienced gardeners understand this. Sudden changes often create problems, but stable conditions create spectacular plants. That changes everything, especially for homeowners who learn to work with the plant rather than against it. Now imagine this: a warm summer evening, white gardenia flowers glowing beneath golden light, a rich fragrance drifting slowly through the air. The garden becoming quieter as the sun begins setting. And suddenly, everything feels calm, elegant, almost resort-like. Expert tip: plant gardenias where you'll regularly pass by them. Near patios, walkways, entryways, because the fragrance deserves to be experienced up close. And honestly, very few flowers create this level of sensory impact year after year. But the next flower on this list has been filling gardens with incredible fragrance for centuries and may be one of the most romantic flowers ever grown. Number 5. Garden phlox. Garden phlox may be one of the most underrated fragrant perennials in the gardening world. And honestly, that surprises many experienced gardeners, because once this flower begins blooming, it's almost impossible to ignore. Large clusters of pink, lavender purple, and white flowers rising above lush green foliage. Butterflies drifting slowly from bloom to bloom. Warm summer breezes carrying sweet fragrance across patios and garden spaces. And somehow, the entire garden feels softer, more welcoming, more alive. That matters more than people realize, because many homeowners spend years searching for flowers that offer both beauty and fragrance. And garden phlox quietly delivers both. Now here's the hidden truth. Many gardeners assume highly fragrant flowers must be difficult to grow, delicate, demanding, high maintenance. But garden phlox often proves the opposite. Once established, it grows quickly, produces enormous flower clusters, and returns reliably, year after year. That changes everything, especially for homeowners tired of replanting flowers every spring. Experienced gardeners understand something important. The most valuable plants aren't always the rarest plants. They're the plants that consistently perform, and garden phlox has earned that reputation for generations. Now here's where things get interesting. The fragrance becomes strongest during warm evenings. As temperatures begin cooling, the sweet scent drifts gently through the air, creating an atmosphere that feels almost nostalgic. Old-fashioned cottage gardens, summer evenings spent outdoors, family gatherings on the patio. And honestly, few flowers create that emotional connection quite like garden phlox. Now here's another reason this plant deserves more attention. The flowers attract pollinators constantly: butterflies, bees, beneficial insects. And gardens filled with pollinator activity always feel more alive. That emotional difference matters enormously, because beauty isn't only visual, It's movement, energy, life, and garden phlox creates all three. Now here's something many beginners learn too late. Air circulation matters tremendously. Because crowded plants sometimes struggle with mildew. Experienced gardeners understand this. Proper spacing, healthy airflow, plenty of sunlight. Those simple adjustments often transform average plants into extraordinary performers. That changes everything, especially for gardeners frustrated by weak flowering. Now imagine this: a warm July evening, large lavender flower clusters glowing beneath golden sunset light, butterflies floating slowly through the blooms, a sweet fragrance drifting across the patio while a gentle breeze moves through the garden, and suddenly, everything feels calmer, more peaceful, more beautiful. Expert tip: plant garden phlox where it receives at least 6 hours of direct sunlight daily, and remove spent flower clusters throughout the season. That simple habit often encourages additional blooms and extends flowering dramatically. And honestly, very few perennials provide this much fragrance, color, and pollinator activity with so little effort. But the next flower on this list has been treasured for centuries because of a fragrance so rich and romantic that people often stop in their tracks when they smell it. Number 4. Old-fashioned roses. When most people think of fragrant flowers, roses are often the first thing that comes to mind. And honestly, for good reason. Soft petals unfolding beneath the morning sun, layers of pink, white, crimson, peach, and apricot blooms, a rich fragrance floating gently through the garden while bees drift from flower to flower. And somehow, the entire space feels timeless. That matters more than people realize, because roses aren't simply flowers. They're symbols of beauty, of romance, of gardens that people remember for years. Now here's the hidden truth. Many homeowners believe roses are difficult, complicated, constantly demanding attention. But experienced gardeners understand something important. Modern old-fashioned shrub roses and many heirloom varieties are dramatically easier to grow than most people realize. That changes everything, especially for gardeners who have avoided roses because of outdated advice. Now, here's where things get interesting. The fragrance varies enormously from one rose to another. Some smell sweet and fruity. Others smell rich and spicy. Some carry hints of citrus. Others smell like classic perfume. And honestly, discovering your favorite rose fragrance becomes part of the adventure. Now here's another reason. Roses remain beloved after centuries. The emotional connection. Very few flowers trigger memories quite like roses. Family gardens, special occasions, childhood homes, summer mornings. And experienced gardeners understand. Gardens become truly memorable when they create emotional experiences, not just visual ones. Now here's something many beginners learn too late. Not all roses are equally fragrant. Some modern varieties were bred primarily for appearance. Experienced gardeners understand this. When fragrance is the goal, always choose varieties specifically known for scent. That changes everything, because the difference can be dramatic. Now imagine this. A warm spring morning, dozens of roses opening beneath golden sunlight, a rich fragrance drifting slowly through the garden, birds singing softly nearby while dew sparkles across the petals, and suddenly, the entire landscape feels romantic, peaceful, almost magical. Expert tip: plant fragrant roses where you'll regularly walk past them. Near patios, entryways, garden paths. Because the closer you are to the blooms, the more powerful the experience becomes. And honestly, few flowers have earned their reputation more completely than fragrant roses. But the next flower on this list may have one of the most powerful fragrances in the entire perennial world. Number 3. Oriental lily. Now this is where things become truly unforgettable. Because Oriental lilies don't simply bloom, they make an entrance. And honestly, very few flowers create this level of drama and fragrance at the same time. Massive, star-shaped blooms opening high above elegant stems. Soft pink, pure white, and crimson flowers glowing beneath summer sunlight. A fragrance so powerful it can perfume an entire patio from several feet away. And somehow, the entire garden feels more luxurious. That matters more than people realize, because some flowers create beauty, but Oriental lilies create presence. The moment they bloom, people notice, visitors stop, neighbors ask questions, and homeowners suddenly understand why these flowers remain among the most treasured perennials in the world. Now here's the hidden truth. Many gardeners assume such spectacular flowers must be difficult to grow, but experienced gardeners understand something important. Oriental lilies are surprisingly achievable. Plant them once, give them proper care, and they can reward you with incredible fragrance for years. That changes everything, especially for homeowners who want maximum impact without constantly replacing plants. Now here's where things get interesting. The fragrance intensifies during the evening. Warm summer air carries the scent surprisingly far. And honestly, many gardeners describe Oriental lilies as one of the strongest smelling flowers they've ever grown. That emotional impact becomes enormous because scent changes how a garden feels. A beautiful flower catches the eye. A fragrant flower changes the atmosphere. And Oriental lilies do both. Now here's another reason these flowers feel so luxurious. The blooms last. Each flower remains attractive for an extended period, and multiple buds often open in sequence, which means the display continues far longer than many homeowners expect. That becomes incredibly valuable, especially for gardeners wanting maximum return from a single perennial. Experienced gardeners understand this. Long-lasting beauty creates lasting satisfaction, and Oriental lilies deliver both. Now here's something many beginners learn too late. Support may be necessary for taller varieties. Large blooms combined with tall stems can sometimes become heavy. Experienced gardeners understand this. Simple stakes or sheltered locations often keep the flowers looking perfect throughout the blooming season. That small adjustment can make a huge difference. Now here's another fascinating detail. Oriental lilies often become the centerpiece of the garden without even trying. Other flowers may compete for attention. Lilies naturally command it. The size, the fragrance, the elegance, everything about them draws people in. And honestly, that's exactly why they remain favorites in luxury landscapes. Now imagine this. A warm July evening. Massive white and pink blooms glowing beneath fading sunlight. Sweet fragrance floating across the patio. The flowers swaying gently in a soft breeze while butterflies linger nearby. And suddenly, the garden feels elegant, sophisticated, almost resort-like. Expert tip: plant Oriental lilies where they'll receive morning sun and good airflow, and position them close enough to seating areas that you can fully enjoy their fragrance. Because trust me, this is one scent you don't want to miss. And honestly, most gardeners never forget their first season growing Oriental lilies. But the next flower on this list has a fragrance so rich, sweet, and unforgettable that many people consider it one of the finest scents in the entire plant world. Number 2. Jasmine. Few flowers have earned a reputation quite like jasmine. And honestly, the moment jasmine begins blooming, it's easy to understand why. Delicate white flowers opening beneath warm evening skies. Soft petals glowing in fading sunlight, an incredibly rich fragrance drifting slowly through patios, balconies, and gardens. And somehow, the entire atmosphere changes. That matters more than people realize, because some flowers smell pleasant. Jasmine creates an experience. The scent feels warm, relaxing, almost intoxicating. And once people experience mature jasmine in full bloom, they rarely forget it. Now here's the hidden truth. Many homeowners spend years searching for flowers that make outdoor spaces feel special, more relaxing, more inviting, more memorable. Experienced gardeners understand something important. Fragrance is often the missing piece, and few plants provide fragrance more effectively than jasmine. That changes everything, especially for homeowners who enjoy spending time outdoors during warm evenings. Now here's where things get interesting. Jasmine often becomes most fragrant after sunset. As temperatures cool, the scent grows stronger, the air becomes calmer, and the fragrance drifts farther through the garden. And honestly, that nighttime performance is one reason jasmine remains beloved around the world. Many flowers save their best appearance for daylight. Jasmine saves its best experience for the evening. That emotional difference becomes enormous, because gardens aren't only daytime spaces. They're places where families gather after dinner, places where homeowners relax after long days, places where quiet moments happen. And Jasmine makes those moments feel even more special. Now here's another reason experienced gardeners love this plant. It grows surprisingly fast once established. A young plant can quickly become a lush flowering feature. And because many jasmine varieties continue improving with age, the fragrance often becomes more impressive every year. That becomes incredibly rewarding, especially for gardeners seeking long-term beauty. Now here's something many beginners learn too late. Placement matters tremendously. A jasmine plant positioned near patios, windows, or seating areas delivers a dramatically stronger experience than one hidden away in a distant corner. Experienced gardeners understand this. The goal isn't simply growing flowers. The goal is enjoying them. That changes everything. Now imagine this. A warm summer evening. Soft white jasmine flowers glowing beneath moonlight. A gentle breeze carrying rich fragrance across the patio. The sounds of nature quietly filling the background while the garden feels peaceful and completely removed from everyday stress. And suddenly, home feels different, more relaxing, more beautiful, more alive. Expert tip: plant jasmine in a sunny location with good support if growing a climbing variety. Regular watering during active growth encourages stronger flowering and even more fragrance. And honestly, the reward is extraordinary, because few flowers can compete with mature jasmine when it comes to creating atmosphere. But the number one flower on this list has a fragrance so legendary that many gardeners spend years searching for the perfect